Hello again. Like many people, I have been somewhat perplexed by the current craze for men to submit voluntarily to castration. It seems, without making any value judgments about it, you understand, a slightly odd thing to do. Nevertheless, there is a very long waiting list for men who wish to be seen by gender identity clinics so that they can duly be turned into eunuchs. Indeed, there are complaints by some men that they are having to wait too long to be castrated, and that they have a human right to have their testicles cut off as soon as they wish. Now, I'm well aware that I haven't phrased all this in quite the way that the matter is usually reported in newspapers, but this is essentially what is going on. Not, you understand, that I have any wish at all to interfere in the private pleasures of others, and if any man wishes to undergo such mutilation voluntarily, then good luck to him. In a way, I can see why some men grow up feeling that they should reject all ideas of masculinity or maleness, because for many years now, being male has been treated in left wing quarters as being little more than a troublesome affliction. And I can see that this attitude might well grow over the years into a feeling of men feeling so ashamed of having testicles and a penis that they feel that the only solution is to have them cut off. No wonder some men wish to be cured of masculinity. It's treated as a bad thing. We've got into the way of accepting that all men are potential rapists and wife beaters, and schools do their very best to feminise boys and try to suppress their natural instincts. Things like wanting to fight or kick balls around. Boys are indoctrinated at nurseries and primary schools, which are almost entirely staffed by women, into feeling a little guilty about being boys. And many of the women working in such places want boys to behave more like girls. In other words, the girls will sit down quietly and do things and not be a nuisance, whereas the boys like to charge around, get into mischief. It would be much easier if you're running a nursery or primary school if the boys did behave more like the girls. I dare say that many viewers know about this trend and they find it irritating and harmful to boys. The situation is greatly exacerbated by the fact that many boys grow up without their fathers these days, and this means that they do not have somebody to teach them how to be male in a healthy way. They do not learn that being manly means not ever striking a woman, let alone forcing one's attentions upon her sexually. Real men scorn to behave in such a way. But if you try and suppress all ideas of masculinity or maleness, then they'll start teaching each other what is acceptable or how men should behave. And learning that sort of thing from a teenage boy is probably not quite as useful as learning it from a grown up man, from their fathers, in other words. So there are some distorted ideas of masculinity circulating, particularly amongst young boys and teenagers. This way of trying to get boys to be more like girls, which begins in the nursery, is now spreading rapidly into adult life. Fire brigades and police forces in this country have been drawing up plans to allow men suffering symptoms of the menopause to work from home. No, I'm not making that up, honestly. I give a link to a news item about this in the description to this video. It seems that some men are suffering hot flushes and having sleepless nights, so the poor fellows need to stay at home to recover and work from home instead of coming to the fire station to work. Just how a fireman or police officer would work from home is something of a mystery to me, but there you are. Like most men of my age, I've worked through these difficult years without needing to take time off work for my hormones. But then, with so many men behaving like women these days, I suppose it was inevitable that somebody would come up with a scheme of this kind. I will remark that I believe the danger that men might pose to women is not being made any less by all this nonsense about trying to feminise them and stop them behaving in masculine ways. There was a time when masculinity went hand in hand with chivalry, and men knew that it was their duty to protect women rather than to abuse or mistreat them. One side effect of all this business about blurring the distinction between men and women can be seen in the awful figures released today about the number of supposedly female rapists. When a man is arrested for rape these days, the police record his gender according to what he claims it to be, rather than what it obviously is. Over the last 4 years, the police have referred 260 men to the Crown Prosecution Service for rape, but they referred them as being women because these are men who claimed that they should be classified as female, despite all the evidence to the contrary. In other words, they felt they really were women in some way, despite having committed rapes. What is going on with these men, I do not know, but the fact that hundreds of rapists apparently think that they are women is just one more symptom of the terrible state we have got ourselves into by trying to stop men being men and women being women. Are things really better for anybody at all now with all these new ideas? I have my doubts.